Welcome to One Woman, Three Views podcast. This is your host, Sandra P. Today's question is having an emotional connection outside of your relationship worse than physically cheating? Well, I would say for me personally, if I'm in a relationship with someone and they go and they find someone else who they can tell their personal information to, even before I know it, to me, that emotional connection can end up driving a wedge between us. Because if you know before I know, and I'm the wife or the girlfriend, I'm gonna have a problem with that. You shouldn't know my significant other got promoted before I did, and y'all don't work together.
Well, but it just depends. It's just a general emotional, not as intimate. Yeah, that could be a problem, but in general, most of my connections with people are based on emotion, or something like that.
Well, let's dive more into that. Let's say an intimate connection with someone else versus a physical, sexual relationship outside of your relationship. What are your views on that?
Or as, having an emotional connection with somebody, considered as a cheating. Like, it depends upon the person. It depends upon if that person has insecurities with their significant other or their mate, speaking to someone else. It's all about the understanding of the people. And if these two people don't have a certain understanding, with one communicating to the other one that they don't like this, if there's nothing stated there, then that person's just gonna live their life and do their life. Then that's gonna create an uncomfortable situation for the both. So establish boundaries before either party can say, oh well, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, you got to talk first, and if you don't talk first and communicate, then when a situation like this comes up, it's going to ultimately break you.
How would you feel you're in a relationship and your girlfriend or whatever the wife ends up connecting with another male emotionally? She goes to him for advice. She talks to him quite often, even if you guys are having, like, say, a date or something. The phone rings, is this guy. So what are your thoughts if that is the actual situation?
A lot of things can actually go into that, because I think about a lot of situations that I went through of the women that I was dating that had an emotional connection with the man at the same time she was dating me. Did it end well? No, it did not. Because they, like a lot of, I'm not going to say every woman or every person that's in a relationship with anybody, has that emotional connection, will go out cheating. Everybody's not the same. But those were my experiences. And I have to know, and I have to keep in my mind and rest assured that everybody is not like that. So, I could look at a relationship that I have with my best friend, my sister. People think that it's something different when it's really not. Been around each other for years. We've had experiences, as well as like partying, hanging out, whatever, what type of experience, happy, sad, we've had those experiences to where we're emotionally bound, but we still have boundaries. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's still going to be a boundary thing.
Well, I think it's definitely different between a platonic emotional connection as a friendship, because I can say I have a platonic friendship with you, but if there was someone who I've connected with and we haven't set those type of boundaries, and the discussions we're having, let's say, even led to different, sexual preferences, I think it stops being platonic when you start emotionally connecting on what you may or may not like sexually. Because if it's platonic, your friend doesn't need to know what you're into in that manner. They're not going to hop in the bedroom with you. That's not platonic. So if I'm in a relationship, if someone is establishing outside of a platonic emotional connection, the way my mind thinks is you are trying to get to know this person. Because in order to date someone truly, starts with friendship. Starts with that understanding of what they like, what they don't like, create boundaries, as you both have stated, and it starts to blemish the lines, because sometimes you may cheat physically and say, well, it happened, that person didn't mean something to me, but then this other individual who you call every time there's something going on, you are connected to them. There's something about this person that draws you back to that conversation or that connection. And if it conflicts with the relationship, I think that's where the problem is that you are you are emotionally tied to somebody outside of your go-to person. If your significant other isn't your go-to and you have created that outside of your relationship, you have technically cheated the person you're with because not being that for you.
I think a big part of it, though, is the trust that you have in your mate. And not only that, but the security that you've created. So if Dwayne goes and talks to another woman, I know, regardless of the connection, I'm secure in my relationship with him.
There's a difference between having your best friend and having something on the side or something that could grow into more and to compete with what you have. That's the way I look at things.
He doesn't ever put me in a situation to where he's created jealousy between me and another person. But at the same time, I'm confident enough in our relationship and in myself that I don't necessarily have a problem with that. So I feel like the confidence you have within yourself first makes a big difference in how that plays out in the end. I was never put in a situation where I had to be jealous of someone else. So that was never a factor, but he still had other female friends that he was close to. And it didn't bother me. It never did. But there are other people out there, and it does go back to knowing your mate and knowing there are people out there that like to create that. It's like they don't feel like they can have a good relationship without creating that kind of drama. And that's a big part of it too. You know, don't put me in that kind of situation, and we're good. So that later on, if that does come up, it's not always in the back of my mind, well, what is she to him? What's going on? Why is he talking to her?
I mean, I definitely agree to that. I can only speak on my own experiences, and I've had it to where I have been friends with a person, and it's been a platonic, but it may not been on my efforts, but at some point they've crossed boundaries that would take it out of the realm of platonic with the questions that were asked of me. So I think it would depend on the person to at least keep that balance. Is this someone who I can say I can have an emotional connection with and there not be an issue? We are strictly friends, strictly platonic. Or is this person playing the friend role in order to get something out of it, to take advantage of that title, friend? Oh, this is my friend, it was just like a sister to me. Or this is just my friend, just like a brother to me. I don't sleep with my brothers or my sisters. So how'd y'all end up in the bed together? And I think it was between that emotional connection. Some people may take advantage of that emotional connection. I have had experiences where people have told me the way you treat your significant other is what drew me to you. Because I knew you were faithful, I wanted to test that. And that draws an issue in the relationship when you're saying, and you're truthful, and this is your truth, this is my friend, this is such and such, we are just cool, we work together, or we met doing this. But their thoughts not necessarily matching the person that's speaking. And I think sometimes a significant other can see that and say, no, you may think of that person as your friend, but they want more. And you see it in the way they respond to you and what they're doing. I think it might end up leading to cheating.
It could possibly really, lead into cheating. I mean, because with that emotional standpoint there, like a lot of people nowadays, a lot of confusion comes in because a lot of people can't control their emotions, and when you can't control your emotions, you don't look at yourself and say, okay, I know this is the wrong thing, because you don't have control over your emotions. You're just going with the flow. That to me is a big deal in itself with a lot of people, because a lot of people, they consciously look at themselves, they don't automatically, because something angers them, they don't act out in anger, because something frustrates them, they don't act out in frustration. But a person that doesn't look at themselves and doesn't know themselves well enough to say, okay, I need to control my emotions because I make, X and Y bad decision, or this may be the worst decision I've ever made because I was emotional. No, a lot of people don't look back at their lives and look at the decisions that they made and look and see if they were emotional decisions. a lot of emotional decisions can end up leading you into the wrong places, whether it be good, whether it be bad. And when it comes to being in a relationship and you get emotionally connected with someone and you can see it, or your significant other sees it kind of going somewhere else, I think you need to have respect for yourself and for your relationship in that.
So my thing would be, a question I would ask all of you is, let's just say it's a platonic friend, emotional connection, strictly platonic. And you're thinking, not with that person, with someone else, of physically cheating. Which would be worse? That platonic emotional connection, or the physically cheating that would be damaging to your relationship?
First of all, people cheat for different reasons. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's just about you're not satisfied in the relationship you're in. And so when you have a dynamic of when women and men are friends, you have to understand something. Both people have to understand something. This person is probably attracted to you on some level. And since we are superficial people, it's usually because you like the way the person looks. And so both people have to understand. You have to understand when somebody wants to be your friend, like in my case. If a woman decides she wants to be my friend, I have to understand from a certain standpoint, it's something about me that she likes. Could be the way I look, could be the way I talk, just in general. And so you have to always understand that at some point this person's gonna test that. And if they do test it, you gotta say, okay, whoa. You know? And I think sometimes people don't, it's like, I don't use the word friend lightly. When I say somebody's my friend, I would trust them around my family, around my wife. And so I do have a different set of rules. What's like, this is a friend, this is an associate. And so when I put friend out, when I say somebody's my friend, I really don't want to go there with them, because it's gonna end badly, really badly. Because you have to identify that when maybe this is going too far. You'd be willing to talk to the person, look, because they could be having a tough time.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have nobody in their life, and so they use you as an emotional crutch. And but I just think that sometimes we just, like you say, what you were saying earlier, you gotta communicate with people, whether it's your spouse or your friends. So I feel like things are kind of getting too close on certain levels. Are you okay? I mean, sometimes it's hard to approach people like that, but you have to do it. And but I feel like for the most part, it's about you. It's about what you. Because I tell people all the time, I've been through this my whole life. When you're gonna do something like that, you got to be thinking about what's gonna happen on the back end, because you're gonna get caught and you're gonna slip up. And you have to ask yourself, if you decide to go down that path, are you really gonna want to deal with the consequences? You be like, I don't think I want to. I don't think I want to do that. Because we all get, people flirt with you and this and that, but it only goes so far. At the end of the day, when you're ready to go home and be with your significant other, do you really want that stuff hanging over your head? Because now you can't really be yourself. And they'll notice a change in you. They'll know, like, you'll start doing, your personality changes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so, but it comes down to trust. But you have to trust yourself more than anything else. And I think as long as you trust yourself and what your motives are, your spouse won't get that feeling like, okay, something's going on with what's going on with you, dude, because
something's different.
Yeah, you know it's a change. And so but I think the dynamic of, cause especially these days, you got a lot of men. I got women friends, I got men friends, and if you was comfortable with it from the beginning, it really shouldn't be an issue, I don't think.
Yeah.
Only when you make it an issue, and then, you make that decision to do that. So.
All right. So that was our first question. Thank you for listening to the One Woman, Three Views podcast. Tune in for the next episode.